This was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And since, things have changed every 20 years or so. We are still living in these 20 years. The galactic consciousness started January 5th, 1999. January 5th, 1999 was that line right there. And now, these consciousnesses are shifting every 360 days. The next cycle, the last cycle, the universal cycle, will start February 10th, 2011. This whole cycle will be 260 days long. The whole cycle. The universal cycle starts February 10th, 2011, and it runs for a total of 260 days, right up to October 28, 2011. October 28, 2011. That is when all of these cycles, this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, all come to some sort of an end. During this cycle, the same amount of changes that are changing every 360 days will be changing in every 20 days. And you got the overall idea here. There seems to be some sort of an acceleration. Universal cycle, the consciousness is conscious co-creation.
Yay.
And that evolution or that development will take 260 days. I'm fooling with you. Actually, it took 16.4 billion years. It's already happening right here, right now. Please notice that we are co-creating this experience.
I also got very interested in crop circles. I did a piece for Wired. And I mean, if psychedelics...
Have you been to England and seen them? Have you been in the energy of them?
I have been in the energy of them.
And what did you experience?
Quite interesting.
Tell us.
Well, you know, really, within like 2 or 3 minutes, you feel like, I mean, a lot of people just sink to the ground and start sort of spontaneously meditating or crying. I mean, you know, there's definitely a strong energy field that's created in these things. And, you know, it's a very complicated area because there are a lot of mischievous, hoaxing English people who are making them, and some people think they're all fake, and I think that they're probably not all fake, but I'm going to need to spend some time there to put the whole story together. You know?
And what do you think about, like, what people talk about in terms of ETs? Did you get any experience of that in any of your journeys or any of the shamanistic experiences?
One reason I got so interested in the crop circles is a lot of them are pointing to the same 2012 date in various ways, and there are also a lot of kind of shamanic, sacred geometrical patterns kind of recur in the crop circles. And, you know, my sense is they're pointing to this 2012 thing being a real event, and then perhaps, you know, Star Trek or Star Wars are not that far from the truth. I mean, perhaps, I mean, look how fast we've moved with our technology and how fast we've developed. There may be galactic races that are out there that are watching what's happening and are waiting till we get past a certain kind of evolutionary crisis to introduce themselves.
Knickers or something.
Exactly, exactly. I take that relatively seriously at this point.
Crop circles first appeared in numbers, in large numbers, mid-1970s, 75, 76, right around in there. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the crop circles, I'll review them just briefly. They were simply circles, patterns, in cereal grain crops in nearly every crop-producing country in the world, where the stalks of grain in an authentic crop circle, where they are gently bent at a 51-degree angle. They are still alive, they still produce their fruit, they may still be harvested if they're done early enough in their season. Researchers have discovered that samples of grains taken from within the crop circles are very different from the control samples that are taken outside of the circle. For example, the crystalline structure is different within the circle than it is from outside the circle. Seeds that are grown from within, samples taken from within this crop circle, germinate very quickly. They bud very quickly, and they produce more berries per unit than those taken from outside of the circle. There certainly are crop circles and glyphs that are hoaxed, and they do not produce the same phenomenon. They are not gently bent at a 51-degree angle. The stalks are actually broken on those. So in the mid-1970s, we began to see an increasing number of, at first they were circles, and the researchers were quick to say they're either hoaxed or they're natural phenomenon. They're just wind whipping these crops into vortices. Well, we began to see things like this. And I put this slide in here so that you could see the detail, the interwoven nature of the stalks. It's pretty difficult to hoax something like this, and especially over glyphs that are 200 and 300 yards in diameter. An interesting side note, in 1994, for the first time, we've never found any animals that were caught up within any of these crop circles, probably because most animals, when they hear or sense whatever it is that's creating these circles, the animals run. Well, there is one particular animal that does just the opposite of that, and that is a porcupine. Porcupines, when they sense danger, they simply curl up into a ball and stay put until the danger has passed. Well, in 1994, for the first time in Canada, there were 2 porcupines whose quills were actually woven into the structure of the crop circle as it was unfolding. They were no longer living. They were very flat at that point, and their quills were very easily woven into the structure of this crop circle. To the best of my knowledge, that's the first time that that's happened. So we see these complex patterns that are very difficult to hoax. Well, the simple circles began to become more and more complex. Each year, the number of circles would increase through the early 1990s, and each year there would be what was called a grand finale, the greatest, most complex, most beautiful crop circle of all. This particular image here is from 1993, I believe, and this is considered to be the grand finale of 1993. Well, the researchers that were saying we had a natural phenomenon of wind whipping these crops into vortices looked at this and they said, well, this is pretty complex, it looks very intentional, maybe there's something else happening. In 1994, I had the opportunity to attend and present a body of information at a crop circle conference in England. And while we were there, crop circles were appearing at the rate of about 11 per day all around the area where we were at. The next slide that I'll show you is what I consider to be the grand finale of 1994. A beautiful image of a very powerful pattern in the science of sacred geometry. If you're familiar with sacred geometry, you know that this is called the seed of life, and that it is an integral component of a greater pattern called the flower of life. If you are not familiar with sacred geometry, you simply know by looking at it, you sense, you feel that there's something important happening here. This is a very powerful resonant symbol that we have. Well, 1995 crop season has just completed. We just got the slides back. I haven't really shown them to many people. And the next image that I have is, for me, one of the most interesting in 1995. And what you're seeing here, many researchers believe that we're seeing a model of our solar system. Here's the sun in the center. And just beyond the sun, you see Mercury in the orbit of Mercury, Venus in the orbit of Venus, the orbit of Earth, and there's no Earth in this orbit.